What is up, guys? It's IFM back to the YouTube game. Sorry about that bit of a hiatus there. My computer broke and I couldn't make any videos. That's real fun. So we're here with the Smogon Tournament Qualifications for the top 16, MetalGro versus Extra Shine, and it's DPP OU. And as you can see, it was a great earthquake into nothing on that first turn, and now that Rotom Wash is going to get a free substitute set up as Extra Shine. I can't even English right now. He switches in his Metagross, gonna get Will-O-Wisped into that Lumberry, and that Meteor Mash is going to break the substitute. But this means it's just going to be a prediction game, and Extra Shine decides to stay away from it entirely, going to get the Stealth Rocks up as a second substitute is placed up by that Rotom Wash. And this gives MetalGro a pretty big advantage because he can now throw off a pretty free Will-O-Wisp. And unless Extra Shine has something like a Heatran in the back to take it, then he's going to be pretty much fucked. But at the same time, that gets fucked by a Hydro Pump from the Rotom, so it's a very tough position right here for Extra Shine. And this is Game 2. MetalGro was able to take Black and White in Game 1, and this is a best of 3 DPP Black and White ORAS to decide a spot in the top 16. Because they were tied at, I believe, 31 points at the end of the Smogon Tour regular season. So this is a pretty key matchup, and right now, Extra Shine's just trying to decide what he wants to take this Will-O-Wisp, because I can pretty much guarantee that's what MetalGro is going for. And those first two Pokemon he's revealed, the Flygon and the MetalGro, do not do well taking Will-O-Wisp, so it's going to be the Infernape that comes in right here. It is immune to the Will-O-Wisp, so he does have that Fire type in the back, but now it's the huge issue of what the fuck does he do to deal with this Rotom, because a Hydro Pump to the face is going to do massive damage to this Infernape. And it's going to be very difficult for him to do anything back to the Rotom. I'm not entirely sure on the damage calculations, but I really don't think even a Choice Band U-turn would break the substitute of the Rotom, and this puts Extra Shine in a really tough position. He could obviously go to something that resists the Hydro Pump, but instead he's just going to go for the Hidden Power, most likely Hidden Power Ice. It does break that substitute, and it's going to be a Thunderbolt instead of a Hydro Pump right there. Doesn't want to risk the miss, or maybe he doesn't have it, and the substitute tries to get thrown up again, but the Fire Blast does take it down to 77% health. MetalGro was expecting some kind of choice set there from the Infernape, as he didn't see the Life Orb damage. Might have forgotten that Life Orb in Gen 4, if it's used on a substitute, it doesn't actually, you don't actually get the Life Orb recoil, so you might have missed that right there and mispredicted, thinking that he was locked into something, and that's going to be Rotom down right there, and the Jirachi's going to come in to counter the Infernape, probably a Choice Scarf set, as you can see, that U-turn being thrown out right there, because any other situation, you're really not going to be switching a Jirachi into an Infernape, but it does force it out, and now we got a MetalGro on MetalGro battle, and Extra Shine has already revealed the Lumberry, so it could be something like a Shuka here for MetalGro, which would give him a pretty big advantage in this mirror matchup. And Extra Shine doesn't want to risk anything. He's just going to switch out. And we do see the Stealth Rocks placed up there for MetalGro as the Flygon comes in for Extra Shine to try to force this MetalGro out. And as we saw from that first turn, it's probably going to be Choice Band. As you can see, massive damage right there, and a huge bit of luck there for for Extra Shine, as the Meteor Mash does miss, and it leaves him in a wonderful position. Already up one Pokemon, though his Infernape is low. It only has one more switch into Stealth Rock, if I recall correctly. So right now, it's probably just going to be time for a Bullet Punch if he has it from this MetalGro, because he doesn't have another Stealth Rock switch in, and instead he's just going to leave it to be foddered for later. Does get that Intimidate off on the Flygon, as it is locked into most likely a Choice Band Earthquake. And now it's going to be free setup time for this Gyarados, but I got to imagine that Extra Shine does have something in the back, and as you can see, the Rotom Wash does come in, and we don't see any leftovers recovery from it. And looking at the sort of team that Extra Shine is running, I'm definitely thinking that this is going to be a Choice Scarf Rotom, which is going to outspeed the Gyarados and quickly KO it with a Thunderbolt. So instead, he's just going to switch that Gyarados out, and Tyranitar is going to switch into that Thunderbolt, and it's a perfect opportunity to throw a nice Pursuit into that Rotom and take it out of the game for, the rest of the time. So we're just going to wait and see. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a Pursuit there. And in terms of last Pokemon, I'm kind of expecting Extra Shine to maybe have a Gyarados of his own, some kind of water type in the back, either Gyarados or a Suicune, you know, because right now his team is just massively weak to a lot of the water threats that you're going to see in the metagame. And once this Rotom is pursued, that Gyarados can do a lot of damage to Extra Shine's team. If it's, you know, carrying something like a Waterfall Earthquake, it's going to deal massive damage to that Metagross. Probably going to be able to one-hit it at +1, and it's really going to be up to Extra Shine to prevent that that Gyarados from having an opportunity to set up here. So we're just waiting on Extra Shine to decide what he wants to sacrifice to this Tyranitar. I can imagine he might just go for a second Thunderbolt just to get a little bit more chip damage in. As you did see, it did 30% on that first go, and it's actually not going to be a Pursuit. It's going to be a Crunch instead, and that Infernape is going down. And now a Tyranitar of his own comes in for Extra Shine, and I'm definitely feeling some kind of water Pokemon as the last Mon for Extra Shine, maybe something like a Lucario in the back for Metagross, and we're just going to see the double Dragon Dance battle here. It's going to come down to a speed tie, and the Stone Edge connects for Extra Shine. That is going to be Tyranitar of Metagross going down, and now Jirachi is just going to come in to get a little bit of check off on this Tyranitar. It is going to outspeed at +1. Even with, because of that Choice Scarf, and some Iron Heads are still going to do huge damage to that Tyranitar, added with the, you know, very improbable chance that Extra Shine's even going to be able to move through that Iron Head. Gotta love Flinch Rachi. Always doing just massive work every single time it comes into battle. So I can actually imagine that Metagross is probably just going to go and U-turn here, expecting the switch out for Extra Shine. So if Extra Shine wants to go for a patented Big Dick play, he might try to stay in, and he does have that Babiri Berry, so it's going to reduce the damage from that Iron Head, so going to take that 40% chance of hitting that's not going to actually occur, and now he's going to be switching out to that Metagross as Jirachi is locked into the Iron Head. And we're going to have to see if Jirachi is going to be able to Iron Head this Metagross down entirely. It's at 65% health. As you saw, it did 14 that time. So if my math is correct, it's going to take 5 Iron Heads to take this Metagross out. Might be 4. No, it's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 5. So Jirachi is just going to probably keep spamming this Iron Head. And it's going to be difficult, though, because you're going to have to flinch your way through the Metagross and then through the Rotom Wash. But I definitely could see it happening, just because of the bullshit level that Jirachi brings to the game. And that first one is going to miss the flinch, and the Meteor Mash is going to come in return from Extra Shine. And it really looks like his team has a lot of difficulties dealing with this Jirachi, with his, you know, only Steel Resist, not being able to put effective damage in on it. As you can see, the Bullet Punch is going to take out 10% of the health, and we're just going to see Iron Heads coming in. That time he decides to not go for the Bullet Punch there, maybe predicting a switch out or just trying to get some big damage in on that 40% chance that he's actually going to be able to hit through the flinch. So Metagross there sitting at 26% health, and Metagross is actually going to choose to sacrifice his own Metagross in a wonderful play as the explosion does come out from Extra Shine's Metagross, and that's going to be an easy kill there on, you know, Mon just blowing up into nothing. You gotta love that when someone just decides to yell Allah Akbar and kill no one. I wish that happened more in the Middle East, but it seems that doesn't. Anyways, the Flygon comes in, and Jirachi is going to be able to check it quite well. It might have an Ice Punch that it's able to throw out, but that would give Extra Shine a lot of setup opportunities here. So Flygon just going to stay in. Most likely, maybe take an Iron Head just to scout, or he could obviously switch out to something like the Rotom, which doesn't really mind taking one Ice Punch. And instead, you know, it's just going to decide to sacrifice the Flygon right here. Gives himself a wonderful setup opportunity for the Kingdra, though. If this is something like a Rain Dance Kingdra, this could be GG right here. But you gotta keep in mind that it might be that Dragon Dance set. But either way, MetalGro might just have to go for a freeze here, depending what he has for the last Mon. Because if Kingdra just goes and sets up 2 Dragon Dances, it's now going to be able to outspeed the Jirachi, and MetalGro is going to have to play around a lot with the Gyarados Intimidates or something like that. But you have to keep in mind that Gyarados is now taking 25% every time it switches in, and it's going to be the Dragon Dance there from Kingdra, and a Kingdra of his own is coming in there from MetalGro. And this is actually pretty huge, because now he threatens a KO back with that Outrage. And he has the Jirachi in the back that's going to be able to outspeed and do pretty big damage with maybe kind of going for a U-turn or something like that. And then the next time around going for some Iron Heads to minimize the amount of chances that it has to miss a flinch. So it's just going to be the Outrage there from Extra Shine. And as you can see, it takes the sand damage down to 76% health. And right now the Jirachi, I believe, is in KO range. The Gyarados most likely is not. But the Gyarados probably does not want to take 2 consecutive Outrages here from the Kingdra, depending on what happens with the confusion and stuff like that. So instead, he's just going to send in his Jirachi and hope for some good old Jirachi bullshit. So Kingdra, sitting at 76% health, I can imagine this Iron Head's probably going to do around 15% health. You include the sand damage, and depending on rolls and stuff like that, it's going to take, I believe, 3 flinches, maybe 2, to take this Kingdra out. And actually, yeah, 23% health. But unfortunately, the flinch does not come through. The Outrage connects, and that is Jirachi down. And now this Gyarados does get the Intimidate off on the Kingdra, and it does take the Outrage to the face, but it survives with 8% health. And now the Confusion pops in, and if this is Lumberry, this is GG right here. And as you can see, yep, Lum Kingdra. Gyarados is dead, and Extra Shine has tied this series up 1-1, and it's going to come down to ORAS OU to decide who gets a spot in the Smogon Tournament Round of 16. We'll be bringing you that match up as well. And until next time, this has been IFM. Sorry for that hiatus from YouTube, but I am back bringing you more high-level Pokemon matches from Smogon and taking a real look at their tournament scene. Until next time, IFM out.